Friends, today I am back with my second lecture on the series of the nervous system. I would be giving overview of the somatosensory nervous system. Also, I would be giving a generalized view of the sensory system. The sensory system is the system that perceives what is happening around us. That is, the external or internal environmental stimuli are sensed by a specialized sense organs and are carried or propagated to the nervous system to interpret, to analyze, and what we call it as perception. That happens in the brain. Sometimes some of the sensations may not reach up to the brain, but these sensations are essential for maintaining certain important functions, such as maintaining the muscle length. Your knee-jerk response you can just see. Suddenly, if you are falling from the edge, without your consciousness, you will sway back and try to maintain your balance. So these are for the local response reflexes. One will wonder that the sensations require the consciousness. You may be wrong there. Not all the sensations are conscious. That means there are unconscious sensations. Hope you can recall or you can try to remember them. Yes, these are unconscious sensations. When you are sleeping, you just imagine yourself sleeping. You are unconscious, temporarily, though. Your blood pressure will not go to zero. So that means there are receptors, there are sensations which are carried to the centers in the medulla, which regulate your blood pressure continuously at the same level that is required for our existence. The muscle length, the maintenance of the muscle tone. Think about the osmolality of the plasma or the blood. We don't know how that is sensed, but it is being sensed, and accordingly the neuroendocrine mechanisms operate upon to bring about the responses. The blood and the extracellular fluid composition, that is the hydrogen ion concentration or the carbon dioxide tension, that is PCO2, or the deficiency of oxygen, what is called hypoxia, the PO2 levels, or the blood or plasma concentration of the glucose, which is an essential ingredient for our energy metabolism. They are all monitored, and they are monitored subconsciously. These are unconscious sensations. Similarly, the CSF chemistry, the lung volumes, so many are the unconscious sensations. We will think about them when we talk about the internal homeostasis. What we concentrate today on the conscious sensations. What are these conscious sensations? A beautiful world around, that is light, the wonderful music you listen, the sound, The body positioning, what you see, I am sitting in front of you and trying to make your lectures as alive as before. The touch, pain or painful sensations, the pressure, the vibration, the heat or cold sensations, so on. These are the conscious sensations. We just look into them, especially those sensations which are carried by the somatosensory system. We will concentrate. This provides the general plan of the sensory system. On the left hand side, you have the plan, that is reception, which is transmitted, that is transmission, and perception. These are the three components of the sensory system. Reception is done by a specialized group of cells or components of the nerve endings which subserve the function of the transducer. Transducer is an engineering term which converts one form of energy to the other form. Here in our body, the transducers convert the various forms of energy that are external stimuli to electrical energy, because all our nerves carry the electrical signals. And this electrical energy or electrical signals are carried as action potentials in the nerve fibers. These action potentials are carried through the nerve to the central nervous system, that is the spinal cord, the brain stem, and the cerebral cortex, where these electrical signals are decoded, and then the attributes of those signals are brought back. That is what we call it as perception. On the right side, I have just put the transducer in our body, or the receptors. The nerve fibers, the afferent nerve fibers, are the transporters or propagators, are part of the pathway. Then the brain, especially, there is what is called a sensory cortex, that is situated in the parietal lobe. This is called S1, that is a primary sensory area or somatosensory area number 1, which is assisted by the somatosensory area number 2. Further, that is assisted by the somatosensory area, and it is all put up in the hippocampus or limbic areas. We now just take the general view of the sensory system. We have two types of sensory systems, or nearly 4 types of sensory system, as I have shown in this slide. One, the spatial senses. The number 2, somesthetic sensations. Number 3, visceral sensation, that is the viscera of the thoraco-abdominal structures. And already I mentioned about unconscious sensations. The specialized sense or spatial senses, what are called spatial senses, we have the sense of smell, that is olfactory system, the light sensation, the visual system, sound sensation, that is auditory system, the equilibrium and balance by the vestibular system, and the taste, the gustatory senses. All these things, if you look at, they have one thing in common, that is, there are specialized organs or tissues in the body to perform these functions. Not only the specialized tissue, they have a specialized pathway and the organization at various levels in the nerve axis. That means starting from the receptor level to the organizational level, that is from the medulla or the different levels in the brain, and then thalamus, and then into the cerebral cortex. And in the cerebral cortex, there are specialized areas exclusively meant for this, their processing and storage. Say for example, occipital cortex for vision, olfactory cortex for the smell, auditory cortex for the sound. However, the taste sensation shares the somatic sensory area in the parietal cortex. But the tongue has a largest area in the homunculus, or the area of representation in the parietal cortex. Look back into the somatic sensations. These include touch, pressure, vibration, thermal sensation, the proprioception, and pain sensation originating from the skin and mucous membrane. These are all somatic sensations. Then comes the visceral sensations. These sensations are somehow not as evolved as of somatic sensations or of the spatial senses. They share a common pathway with the somatic pathway, somatic sensation pathway of dermatome origin. Hence, we may have a problem or we may have a symptoms such as a shoulder pain in case of a heart attack, or the epigastric pain in case of the stomach, or a back pain in case of a kidney issues. So these are the visceral sensations. I will not talk about the unconscious sensations which I have already mentioned in previous slide, but they are essential for maintenance of the milieu interior, maintenance of the internal environment. This is the outline of the somatosensory path. On the right side, I have made a diagram showing three sets of neurons reaching up to the parietal cortex. To begin with, the first set of neuron, what is called a first order neuron, which is either in continuity or is partly start with the receptor, what are called cutaneous receptors. And these fibers enter the spinal cord through the posterior root. And from here, some sensations are relayed, some other sensations are ascend up and are relayed in the medulla. Here they are relayed in the spinal cord, in the posterior horn. From there, the second order neurons originate. These second order neurons cross to the opposite side and they will ascend up to the thalamus as thalamocortical projections, where they relay either in the ventrobasal or ventroposterolateral nucleus of the thalamus or ventromedial nucleus of thalamus in case of the trigeminal nerve or a taste cranial nerves. From the thalamus, the impulse or there is a fanning of fibers reaching up to the entire cerebral cortex, the posterior to the sulcus, central sulcus. And this is the somatosensory area. Now, if I come back, it starts, the somatosensory path starts with the receptors, the transducers, which generate potential, what is called generator potential, initiates extant potentials in the first order neurons. From the first order neurons, it is relayed in the spinal cord or brainstem, then ascend, cross to the opposite side and ascend to the thalamus, where it is relayed. From there, the third order neurons originate, finally relayed into the parietal cortex. That is not the end destination. This is the area number 1. From there, with the help of other areas of the brain, whatever the sensory modalities are decoded and provide various attributes of the sensation. This is a general plan of the sensation.
Now we will summarize the parts discussed so far. In this section, I have defined the sensation. To recapitulate, it is a process of obtaining information from the external or the internal milieu, which is propagated and processed to produce a response. There are conscious and unconscious sensations. The conscious sensations include whatever we do when we are awake. The unconscious sensations, that is the regulation of blood pressure, temperature, and many other internal homeostatic mechanisms. Subsequently, I have shown the pathways or steps for sensory processing. This involves 3 steps. 1. The reception, which happens at the receptor level. Then its propagation, once the action potentials are generated and they are propagated along with the nerve fibers, that is the pathway. And thirdly, the perception, that is the processing, which happens in the brain. Subsequently, I have highlighted the differences between spatial senses, somesthetic sensations, and visceral sensations. I have provided the general outline of the somesthetic sensation in reference to 3 set of neurons, that is first order neuron, the second order neuron, and third order neuron. In the next section, we will discuss about the sensory receptors, their classification, and their properties. Thank you so much.